Good morning. This is a vibrant and busy time at First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin. So before we formally begin our worship service, we invite you to lend your attention to a few brief announcements that will let you know about some of the ways to get involved in the life of the church. On each Sunday, we light candles in the sanctuary and along the windows to mark sacred moments in our lives. Today, please note that we will not be lighting candles in the chancel, just out here along the windows. You are invited to light candles during the prelude, musical meditation, or the postlude, which are designated with an asterisk in your order of service. This afternoon at 3 p.m., First UU will host Voces Olvidadas, or Forgotten Voices, a powerful concert presented by Unwound Sound and featuring First UU Adult Vocal Ensemble. The program includes the world premiere of a work by Colombian composer Jose Martinez, and a new collaboration between Zell Miller and Brent Baldwin. Admission is free, with donations benefiting the Austin Sanctuary Network. Please sign up to take a turn supervising the kids in the playground during services this summer. The sign-up is outside of Reverend Carey's office. We love our volunteers and would love to add more, so if you haven't already volunteered with the kids, all you need to do is speak with Shannon, Sol, or Reverend Carey about getting a background check. Each Sunday, one of our caring companions is designated to be available at the front of the sanctuary after the service to listen to any immediate pastoral needs and assist with you connecting to additional pastoral support if you would like. Today's caring companion is Susan Thompson. Susan, would you please stand? Now let all who have gathered in beloved community, whether in virtual space or in person, join our spirits in worship together.
Good morning. We have a little scrappy. We're going to be scrappy this morning, but we get to hear all this amazing music, so it's completely worth it. Whether you are joining us online or you're here in the sanctuary, welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin. I'm the Reverend Carrie Holly Hurt. I'm the assistant minister here. I'm a white woman in my late 40s with short brown hair. I'm wearing my blue robe and a beautiful blue stole with wildflowers all over it. My pronouns are she, her, and it truly is a joy to be here on this very special morning. I especially want to welcome you if you are new to the congregation. If you're joining us remotely, let us know where you're coming from and say hello. And if you're here in person, please join us after the service for some fellowship in Housen Hall. Either way, we invite you to fill out the online visitor form at austinuu.org. Simply click on worship, which will then send you to a link with a form. Y'all, we really want to get to know you. I also want to welcome a very special guest today. We have the composer of this amazing piece that's going to be excerpted throughout our worship service today, and he wants to come up and tell a little bit about this. So please welcome Jose Martinez.
Wow, you made me feel like a rock star. I love that. We gotta keep doing that more. Hello, my name is Jose Martinez. I'm the composer that wrote the piece that you just heard, an excerpt of the piece that will be premiered later today. I'm a Colombian. I'm born in Colombia. I'm an immigrant. I lived in the United States for 13 years. I want to brag about something. I recently got my green card in January 18th. Thank you. That's exactly how I felt when I got that email. And so this piece is written for a choir and a group of musician ensemble. The piece is called Voces Olvidadas, Forgotten Voices. And the piece is about a piece of history in my country that is painful. And so you might have heard throughout the years that Colombia had a very intense internal conflict starting in the 1950s, and there was a peace treaty that was signed in 2017. So things are much better now, for sure. If you have been to Colombia recently, you were before, you would know that the country has changed a lot. There is a specific piece of history in this large range of time that I mentioned in the 90s, after 1995 to almost 2000. There was a moment in history in which the two parties that were in this conflict, which were mainly the government and the leftist guerrillas, they were getting into this dynamic in which the guerrillas were kidnapping military men and policemen to, in a way, blackmail the government to put some pressure on the government. And so unfortunately, there were men who were kidnapped for many years. There's the person who was the longest was Livio Jose Martinez, not related to me. He was kidnapped for 14 years. So imagine that the sole concept of being kidnapped for 14 years, or others were 10, others were 7 years, 9 years, and so the piece is about the humanity that is left for these people who were kidnapped. So the piece is about, in general, within these horrific events and the middle of this internal conflict. I grew up watching this happening on TV and feeling a little bit of what's happening. A lot of this war was happening in the rural areas, so people in the cities will feel a little bit less the impact, but it was still vivid. And so this piece is about how to capture with music a little bit of that humanity that is left within that conflict. Usually when composers write music for choir, they choose beautiful poems that have beautiful musicality in them. They have, they like that. I don't. I prefer using texts that are not supposed to be musical, that are not supposed to be beautiful. So in this case, this piece is using text from 3 sources. One is the Colombian Constitution itself. And so a constitution for any country is this very utopic text that we read, and we read what we're supposed to be, but most of the times we're not that, because many factors. So the Colombian Constitution is the source. The other source is journalistic reports about these events, just journalists writing or narrating what's happening and interviewing people. And the other one is the most complicated source, is that these prisoners, they sent videos to share with the families. So and these videos had communications directly to the government, but also had communications to their families. So they were talking to the president, talking to the governors, to the ministers, but then they were talking also to their families. They're saying, hey, Marta, please take care of my of mom, please pay the rent, please. So there's a mix of very, very personal accounts and communications versus the president, please sign the peace treaty, please help us, we're in a dire situation. So I watched many of those videos and I took some excerpts of that, and that is the last movement, which is called Messages. And so that's the piece. The piece is a personal piece in terms that it is about a piece of history in my country, but it's also a piece that is not about me, it's about these people who were kidnapped, and it's definitely not a piece to take a political side or to choose one side or another. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in unearthing the humanity and the reality of these people who were in this dire situation, who in a way didn't choose to be there, but many times were forced, because policemen and military men in Colombia, most of it in this present time, they didn't have other options. They were in the rural areas, they didn't have access to universities or perhaps even high schools, and they were offered money to join these groups, whether it was the military or the guerrillas, and they had few options. So in a way, they were forced to be part of this. They were killing themselves, but they were in a way prisoners of that system that made them do that. That's it. Thank you very much for listening to me. Appreciate it. Hope to see you later today at 3, right? At 3 p.m. here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jose. And welcome to you all. Here we welcome everyone, every beginning and every path, every beautiful expression of human flowering, all pronouns, all the ways and ones you love, all abilities or disabilities. Each and every one of you are welcome here. Now, we come from a long tradition of seeing the divine in each and every one of us, and it is in that tradition that I invite you to say hello with consent to the divine around you.
Good morning again. My name is Dana Quick. I'm your lay leader today. I am a white woman in my mid-40s with a short asymmetrical haircut. I have been told by folks that I look like a lawyer, so it's a good thing that I am a lawyer. Please join me in the words by which we light our chalice. This is the flame we hold in our hearts as we strive for justice for everyone. This is the light we shine upon systems of oppression until they are no more. This is the warmth we share with one another as our struggle becomes our salvation. Our call to worship this morning is Meditation After Reading the News by M. Jade Kaiser of Enfleshed. I bring in each story with honest breath. I let grief tumble in my throat. I let compassion quicken my spirit. I let anger simmer unthwarted. The usual questions gently raise their voice and call me to alignment and account, a regular examination of heart, practice, commitments. Feeling into connection with my neighbors and kin, burdened by lineages of cruelty and apathy, I resolve again to live my portion of life, loyal only to those that which serves. The freedom of earth itself, the freedom of every captive being, the freedom that reaches towards futures, where all of our children are fed, supported, and at ease in their play. Taking my small space in the whole of things, I ground my hope in the less obvious, in the communities of the bothered and grieving, the organizing, the creating, the truth-telling, the tapped into the sacred thing tugging on every corner of life, relentlessly, ruthlessly loving us a way home. Please rise, either in body or spirit, and let us sing together hymn number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere.
That was so cool. It was like being in a choir again. I don't think I've done that since 8th grade. So, one of the things that binds us together as a religious community, and not a social club, we are not a social club, is that we have a common purpose. And for us, that common purpose is our mission. We write it together, and then we put it up on the wall so that we can say it each week. and hopefully carry it through the week with us. Let's say it together now. Together, we nourish souls, transform lives, and do justice to build the beloved community. Now, usually I would be stepping back awkwardly like I will be doing through these wonderful people in a moment, but this is a time to give some good and bad news. Our wonderful Bethany, who is our wonderful section leader, who leads us in beautiful hymns, is leaving us. She has a good reason and a wonderful opportunity, and we will miss you so much. And we have flowers somewhere. I'm not sure where.
Bethany, I believe that I can speak for everybody in this room when I say, no! But also, it's been an amazing 8 years, and you have added so much to this music program, and we're going to miss you. We love you. Come back and visit. And and thank you for everything that you've helped with 8 years, and also helping me manage all this stuff, which is not a little thing. There will be cupcakes, I'm told, and flowers, so be ready. Thank you, Bethany.
Hello, everybody. We have come to the Time for All Ages in this incredibly cool service that we are doing today. As you can see, things are a little bit more complicated up here than usual. So here's what we're gonna do. I want everyone to come over to this aisle right here, and we're just gonna gather along here so that we're not getting anywhere near any of this beautiful, delicate equipment. Sound good? All right, I have a lovely book for us today. So if you would like a nice close look at the pictures, come and join me right over here. Hi, everyone. Hello. Good to see you all today. I feel a little bit extra tall right now. I'm on a stool on a stool. Okay. Hello. So our book today is a really lovely one. I'm a big fan of this book. And it's titled The Rabbit Listened, and it was written by Corey Doerfeld. One day, Taylor decided to build something new. Yeah, something new and something special. Something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, things came crashing down. The chicken was the first to notice. Cluck, cluck, what a shame. I'm so sorry this happened. Let's talk about it, cluck, cluck. But Taylor didn't feel like talking, so the chicken left. Next came the bear. Rah, how horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. Rah! But Taylor didn't feel like shouting, so the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do. Trump-da-da, I can fix this. We just need to remember exactly the way things were. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering, so the elephant also left. One by one, they came. The hyena, let's laugh about it. The ostrich, let's hide and pretend nothing happened. The kangaroo, oh, what a mess, let's throw it all away. And even the snake, shh, let's go knock someone else's down. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody. So eventually, they all left until Taylor was alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit, but it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. Together, they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." The rabbit listened. The rabbit listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to hide, to throw everything away, to ruin things for someone else. Through it all, the rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. "It's going to be amazing." The end. Thank y'all. Let's head on back.
This is the time during the service when we commit to the mission and ministries of this church by making an offering. We give out of our own so that together we might build a better world. If you are visiting with us today, please allow the plate to pass you by. You are our guests. You can give in several ways. You can give online or by texting your contribution using the instructions that will be shown on the screen during the offering, or if you are here in person, by placing an offering in the basket the ushers are about to pass. Here in the sanctuary, the ushers will now collect our offering. Your offerings have been given in love and received with gratitude. Our reading this morning comes from Buddhist monk, peace activist, and teacher Thich Nhat Hanh. Love is the capacity to take care, to protect, to nourish.
Now is the time in our service where we center ourselves, where we feel one another's loving presence as we breathe deep. Breathing in and out, we follow our breath to that deeper place, a place of greater wisdom, where the ocean of divine love flows. In a moment, we will enter into meditation with music, and we will remember that sounds of humans, small and not so small, are welcome in this holy space. And as we ground and we hold space for all of those that are surrounding us, our community, we make space for those who are in sorrow. We hold Melanie Walter Mahoney and her family in our hearts as she mourns the loss of her husband. And we hold Susan Thomas and her family. Susan has a cousin who has been experiencing mental health issues. The family has tried unsuccessfully to give her care. And Tuesday, she wandered out of her parents' home in New Braunfels, and they haven't seen her since. Susan has been spending much of her time with her cousin's parents while the family waits and hopes. We hold them all. And even in our sorrow, we make room for joy. As we enter into this meditative quiet as our music plays, we ask you to light candles along the wall and hold the meditative quiet even when the music ends. If you're still lighting candles, feel free to do so, as we make space in our hearts for all those who have no one to light a candle for them. This work is so powerful. There's something powerful about hearing Libertad as you're meditating. So you're hearing just a piece this morning of this really powerful work. The whole piece will be played this afternoon at 3. And it's free. We ask for donations for the Austin Sanctuary Network. It's a win all around. I hope that you all come. Throughout this piece of art, Jose tells the story of contrast. The utopia that exists in the Colombian Constitution versus the lived experiences of humans taken hostage. Humans whose constitutional rights were violated by groups who were using them as leverage. He has used art to bring humanity into a situation that can be so easily stripped of its humanity, that can so easily be turned into just statistics. A situation where so many people's voices and lives have already been forgotten. As Jose said, the genesis of this work came about when he learned about Private Libos Jose Martinez, who was captured like many, many others. He was captured by FARC in 1997. Libo's life was cut short at that moment. His girlfriend was pregnant with their son, Stephen, and his son only got to see his father once in his casket because he was killed 14 years into his hostage. But even though Stephen grew up without the physical presence of his father, he did have a sort of relationship with him. Like many hostages and their families, they communicated through tapes. The hostage takers would send out proof of life tapes so that the government and the population would know that they were still alive, that they were still collateral, and probably, incidentally, gave the family hope. And then radio stations set up a time for families to send in tapes so they could talk directly to their loved ones. For years, Stephen, like many other children, told his dad about his life. Voices going back and forth, building a relationship, probably providing one another comfort, even as they were all caught between power and power. The work that we are hearing is a beautiful example of how art can humanize us all, those that are harmed and those that harm. How it can bring to us what we have forgotten. It is a profoundly powerful piece because it gives voice to so many who have been forgotten. And while the work is about what happened in Colombia, especially in the 1990s, it's also about how humanity exists even within the violence and in the statistics and the conflict and the oppression and the marginalization. Even in the horrible things that we can do to one another, there is still the human need to connect and to be heard. I see that in the videos that come out of Gaza and Sudan and the Congo. I see it in the children who gathered in the prison yard at Dili and yelled, "Libertad, libertad." The way that people, even those living under the harshest and most cruel conditions, want their voice out there, hoping that someone is listening. And it should be us, right? It should be people grounded in universalism and in the inherent worth and dignity of all people, in interdependence, people who see the divine spark in all beings, people who believe in building the beloved community. We should be the ones to hear, right? I know I feel that responsibility. I feel a deep responsibility to hear. And because I feel that, I know it's heavy. I know it's hard. I know it can feel impossible. Impossible because my capacity feels lacking, even if my soul is willing. There's this wise story that we tell each other. We say, we were never meant to live in a way where we knew so much about people outside of our own small village. And there is a lot of wisdom there. There is the acknowledgement of, yes, it is so hard. It is so hard to be informed about so much pain and suffering, to be thousands of miles or outside the prison gates. Feels powerless. And ultimately, I think this message is one of comfort. I hear you. It hurts. The story also says, your work is here. Your work is in your little sphere of influence. And I think that's true. I think it's right in a lot of ways. I think that we should be putting our energy into tangible things that we can do. But what about our broken hearts? Maybe we were never meant to live in a way where we knew so much about others, but we do, and our heart breaks. And maybe that's a sign that the reality is that we will be concerned about things that happen outside of our sphere of influence. And maybe we actually lost the right to be so narrowly focused when our actions started to impact others, when what we put in the water hurt the animals downstream, when our desire to expand our territory meant that others had to die or leave, when we built our wealth because others were and are exploited and enslaved, when our taxpayers' dollars pay for guns and prisons and missiles that tear people's homes and lives apart. Didn't our species long ago give up the right to only care about what was in front of them? I think so. And I also think, but oh God, how? There is so much pain, there is so much suffering, there is so much going on in the world, from the oppression of the Chinese government of the Uyghurs to the oppression of our own government to trans people, people of the global majority, people without citizenship privilege. So many people are being harmed. So many voices are crying out, hoping that someone will hear them, that they will connect, that their humanity will be seen. So how do we expand? How do we evolve these primitive minds of ours to catch up with the ways that we are connected? The ways that our actions impact people all over the place? Maybe we just need to start telling ourselves a different story about who our neighbor is, who we should include in our sphere of concern. And I like to go back to ancient texts when I'm trying to rethink things. So I go back to the Christian Bible, to Rabbi Jesus, who teaches in the story of the Good Samaritan that the question isn't so much about who is my neighbor, but rather who am I being a neighbor to? It's a really interesting way of changing the narrative, isn't it? Because it's about I am in relationship to how I act to you. I am your neighbor because of how I am behaving. In the case of the Good Samaritan, it is a man who sees another man beaten and dying and takes it upon himself to care for him. In this story, the Samaritan's mercy is what makes him a neighbor to the injured man. It is also his willingness to see the person in his path. I think we have a hard time sometimes seeing the people in our path, especially as people living in the wealthiest nation in the world. Those that impact us, those that we impact, are often obscured by layers of wealth that we place between humans. But even if they are obscured, they're there. If we think about our neighbors as those we impact, our neighborhood becomes the whole world. Our neighbors become all. Because as people in this country, our economy, our lifestyle, and most certainly our government, and not just this one, impacts people all over the world. So what is our responsibility to our neighbor then? Is it to show mercy like the Good Samaritan? I mean, maybe you have a time that you could do that. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to show mercy and compassion towards the human in front of you, and I hope you do, if they need it. And maybe it's about receiving mercy and compassion from others when we need it. But mostly, I think our responsibility is to be in solidarity, which means we must build the capacity to be in true solidarity. Solidarity is not charity. It is the joining together as if our lives deeply depend on it, because they do. It is also about those of us who are impacted the most, taking the lead, and those of us that are not impacted, following. Pope Leo wrote in the Magnificat Humanitas that solidarity arises precisely when we decide not to remain indifferent to what happens to our neighbors, but instead to transform unavoidable bonds. Solidarity starts by expanding our idea of who we are connected to, which is part of our theology and our values, especially our value of interdependence. That value reads that we covenant to honor the interdependent web of all existence with reverence for the great web of life and with humility to work to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation, to create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality, and justice. Solidarity is recognizing our interdependence. And as people committed to equity and justice and transformation, we have to work with one another, to be with one another, so that we can look at things differently. There is solidarity that we can take that looks like action, like those joining flotillas to try to get aid to Gaza, or those using their bodies to protect one another, like in New Jersey right now, in LA, in Minneapolis. Those are amazing acts of solidarity. But not all of us have the means or the circumstances to do that type of action. But there is still good work we can do. Like seeing someone and letting them know they are not alone. I love that story that Sol read, because it reminds us that how powerful it can be just to be heard, just to be accompanied. A few months ago, I went along with other clergy to Minneapolis to be in solidarity with Minnesotans who were dealing with the invasion. They're still dealing with the invasion, by the way. I came back from that trip feeling like I had learned a lot and maybe helped a little. But earlier this week, I had the opportunity to meet with 3 clergy from Minneapolis that had come down to Texas to be in solidarity with us. Both those detained in Dilley and Hutto, and those of us just trying to function in the negative peace that is our current state of things. They told me that what I did mattered, that all the clergy coming into the state to see, to be with, to witness was powerful beyond what they could explain. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really buy it. But by the time I left that meeting, I got it. In that short time I spent with them in hearing their stories of visiting the detention centers, I started seeing the power of showing up, of being seen. As they asked me about what it was like to live here, what we were facing, what was going on, who were the players, what's the story we tell ourselves, I felt held, and I felt seen, and I felt heard. They were saying, we care about what is happening in Texas. You are not alone. To the people they visited in the detention center, to the other people they worked with on their trip, they were saying, you are not alone. People states away care about you. They see you. They hear you. We're not alone. It felt really good. It renewed my very weary soul. And while I know what I am living through is miles, miles away from what people are facing all over the place, I wonder if that's how those people living as hostages felt when they heard the precious voices of their families being broadcast through the radio. I wonder if knowing that the radio station set up opportunities so that they could hear their loved ones was somewhat of a balm to their soul? Did it make them feel less alone, feel less abandoned, less forgotten? I hope so. I know to hear that you're not alone is humanizing and is comforting. And so I think the work for us is to figure out how, within the sphere of influence we have, how do we live in such a way that our whole life communicates to those that touch our life that they are not alone? How can we stop remaining indifferent to what happens to our neighbors and start instead to transform unavoidable bonds? What transformation will come for all of us when we work to hear one another? I don't have all the answers, and mostly I think the answers are specific to you and your situation, but we must ask ourselves the question as we make our decisions about how we live and how we engage the world. How will we, a people that believe in the beloved community, believe in the inherent worthiness and dignity of all people whose hearts are breaking? How will we make sure that people are not forgotten? How will we hear them? And how will we communicate that they are not alone? And most importantly, how can we be a part of seeing and raising up the humanity of us all? Thank you.
Please rise, either in body or spirit, and let us sing together hymn number 391, Voices Still and Small. I'm going to ask one of the choir members in the back if they could extinguish a chalice for us while we say the words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we hold in our hearts until we are together again.
As we leave this really special and sacred time of holding, you are loved. You are loved, you are loved, you are loved, you are loved, and you are not alone. Go in peace.